Let's see if we can get going with this. Ooh. Just going to let some people stroll in. As you can see, I'm at home. Just going to refresh the page. Am I live? Am I live? Come on. Waiting for the confirmation of the squad. Hello, everybody. I think I'm live. So, yes, my name is Ben Kelly. I am sat not in the studio, but in my back garden at home. England are about to announce their England squad for the Euro 2020 tournament. Really exciting. We're about 6 minutes away from the video, from the announcement being made. I know that this channel doesn't cover much about England, but I wanted to do this because I'm interested in England. I know a lot of you guys are interested in England as well, so I wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for us to have a little bit of a chat. I don't know how long we'll be chatting for. Obviously, we're waiting for the squad to come out, but I thought I'd be getting going because I thought I'd go through already what the provisional squad is, so that we can have a little speculation in the 5 minutes that we've got before anything else happens. Whether or not England will be, which players England will be chopping, which I think is something that I think is worth talking about. I'm trying to, my Wi-Fi out here on this laptop is terrible. I'm just trying to find now. I should have been a little bit more prepared, but here we are. I think obviously the Trent Alexander-Arnold thing is the most interesting thing, and there's been the discussion, and that's just sort of kind of the journey that we've been on all day regarding who's going to be in it, which of the four right backs are going to be chopped. You've got Reece James, Kieran Trippier, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and you've got Kyle Walker. Now, I think Kyle Walker's going to go, and then you've got the other three, basically. Now, I think you've got Reece James, who, in the Champions League final on Saturday, played himself into the team, definitely played himself in the squad, but I think he played himself into the starting 11 as well. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Coming up against Raheem Sterling, who, granted, hasn't been brilliant this season, hasn't had his best season, but he pocketed him. Sterling didn't have a shout, didn't have a way into the game. He had that one chance very early on, and that was it. So I think for Reece James, I think when it comes to the first game against Croatia on the 13th of June, it's a Sunday afternoon, I think Reece James, to be honest, right now, is the one starting. And we've got two friendlies coming up ahead. We've got Austria tomorrow night, and we've got Romania at the weekend. Austria obviously going to the tournament, and then you've got Romania at the weekend who aren't going. And I think obviously the idea behind these kind of friendlies is that they look at teams who maybe in terms of style are similar to your France's, your Portugals, your Belgians, the big teams that you like to come up at the latter end of the competition. I think that's sort of the idea behind doing it with those kind of with those kind of teams. So I think in terms of the starting 11 for Croatia, you've got Reece James there, who potentially I think is the number one right now. But these two games coming up could change that. Still trying to find the provisional squad. My Wi-Fi is letting me down because I just want to go through who I think, with 3 minutes to go, who I think will be cut. Obviously, the big news this morning, Mason Greenwood's been cut out already. He's injured, which I think is a shame, because I think England I think he's a clinical goal scorer. And even though he's slightly, what would the word be? Slightly unpolished, he's a bit more of a rough diamond, if you like. I do think that Reece James is I do think that Mason Greenwood would have been handy as an option for England to have, but it's one of those things. Here we go. So obviously the goalkeepers, I think Sam Johnston's going to be dropped, isn't he? That's probably the first one. So from 33, you've lost Reece James. You've not lost Reece James. You've lost Mason Greenwood, and you've lost, by reports, Jesse Lingard. So there too. So the 33 is down to 31. We've got to take 26. I think Aaron Ramsdale isn't going to. Sorry, I think Aaron Ramsdale isn't going to go. Is it Aaron Ramsdale? No. I don't think Sam Johnston's going to go. Hold on. Here's the squad. All I want is the graphic with the squad on. I should have been so much more prepared than this. But it's all right. We've got time. We've got 2 minutes. Here we go. So I don't think Aaron Ramsdale's going to go. So you're 33. So you've lost Mason Greenwood. You've lost Jesse Lingard. You've lost Aaron Ramsdale. So then there's another 4 players that he's got to chop out of the rest of the squad. So for me, I don't think he's going to take Ben Godfrey. So that's down to 29. I think now it depends on the fitness of Harry Maguire, because that's a big question. And I don't like Harry Maguire as a player for Man United, and I wouldn't have him at Liverpool, but I think he's quite important for England. So I think it's going to be a bit of a blow if Harry Maguire isn't fit. We've got about a minute. I think it's a bit of a blow if Harry Maguire isn't fit. So that's another big question mark. And then you've got players like Tyrone Mings. So if Harry Maguire isn't fit, I think Tyrone Mings and Conor Cody both go. But I think if he isn't fit, I think if he is fit, I think you're looking at one of them dropping out, probably Tyrone Mings. I think that you've got somebody like I think you've got somebody like Conor Cody, who, while I don't think is the best defender in the league or by any stretch of the imagination, I think he's got leadership skills. It's a very young squad, and I think that Conor Cody has something there. He's just a presence in the dressing room. I think that's why he'll be useful. I don't know how many minutes he'll get, but I do certainly think that he'll be worth taking. We're a minute away. I'm just making sure I don't miss the announcement. To have a look at what a lot of comments about my backyard. Thank you very much. My dad looks after the grass. He's very particular about it. He's one of those dads, but he does a good job with it. There aren't some bad gardens out in Wigan. Few sound problems. Fix the audio. What a garden is the squad. Few sound audios. How bad is the audio? Because I thought it was coming through this, and it might not be. Greenwood not injured. Somebody tell me about the audio. Right, the squad should be out now. Mark Goldbridge saying he'll be gutted if he hasn't made the England squad, which I think is fair enough. I'm really worried about that drink. Would it make everybody feel better if I put the drink down here? Is that allowed? There you go. It's not the strongest Ribena I've ever had. Right. The call up. Oh, there's a video. I've got to do a video. Wretch32 is wrapping a video, and that's how I'm going to find out what the squad is. Well, it looks like Trent's in. That's the main thing. So Trent Alexander-Arnold makes the England squad. That is the main thing. Audio's fine. Audio's sound fine. Thanks very much, everybody. So Trent Alexander-Arnold makes the England squad. That is the main thing. Brilliant. That's really good news. And I think at the end of the day, so I'm just trying to find out who else is going, because we need to know whether or not the other three right backs are in. Come on. It's not going to let me stream a video out here. So Trent Alexander-Arnold makes the England squad. Look, he's England's best right back. He's one of the best right backs in the world. That's the reality of it. He should be going. Now, there was obviously reports earlier on in the day when it was coming out. I think Sky broke the news first. He was going to make the team. They talk about him being a midfield option. Now, I think that's interesting because obviously we've had discussions as Liverpool fans, over the years, regarding who, where the future for Trent lies in terms of does he remain at right back, or does he become a midfielder more often? And I think maybe because he used to play midfielder at youth level, but is a international tournament for England the best place to start playing in midfield in terms of the first place of him coming in and playing that role? I don't think so. I don't know. So that remains to be seen for me. How much involvement? So he's taking Trent. Good. That's good news. But how much involvement is Trent actually going to have? Does Gareth Southgate here know that if he doesn't take Trent Alexander-Arnold, that there's going to be a target on his back and he's going to be lauded for it, and that's always going to be asked about? He's due to give a press conference in about 15 minutes. Does he know that that's the case, and therefore he's just taking him because he's got a 26-man squad now instead of a 23-man squad? In terms of is that the answer? Is he just taking him to sort of have him there? How many minutes will he actually get? That's the big question, because I still think that even though he's going, I think right now in Gareth Southgate's head, I'm not saying that I agree with this, I think that Reece James and Kyle Walker are ahead of him in the pecking order. Why no Trippier? Is Trippier not going? Interesting. 4 right backs. Here we go. I've got the squad. Right. Dean Henderson, Sam Johnston, Jordan Pickford, Trent Alexander-Arnold, that's 1 right back. Ben Chilwell, Conor Cody, Reece James, Harry Maguire goes. Tyrone Mings, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier, Kyle Walker. So that is the 4 4 right backs. Then you've midfield, you've got Jude Bellingham, Jordan Henderson, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice, Dominic Calvert-Lewin goes, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, Jadon Sancho, Raheem Sterling. So Bukayo Saka goes. That's interesting. So as predicted, he doesn't take Aaron Ramsdale. He doesn't take Jesse Lingard. He doesn't take Mason Greenwood. Actually, news this morning. He doesn't take Ben Godfrey. And who is the other one that I'm missing? I've got to think on my feet now. Phil Foden's going. I'll flick back to this. Ben White. Ben White's the other one not going. So that's interesting. So there's your 7. Interesting. Okay, so in terms of the right backs, four right backs then. So what system is he going to play? Because he's been playing a four. So does he go back to a back three? Depends on the fitness of Harry Maguire again for me, because I think that's how. Yes, Trent is there. Everybody, that is the main thing. Um, I think that's interesting. Does he go back to a right back? Does he go audio sound? Wind is messing up the audio. Nothing much about the audio I can do, unfortunately. I'll bring it a little bit closer. Does that help people? Whoa. Is that any better? Hey, there we go. That's the best I can do in terms of the audio. My frame is a little bit off now, but it is what it is. So that day seven not going. I think so. What does he do with Trent? And again, it's about the answer of tell this up. There we go. There we go. So it's about the answer now of who does he start against Croatia, and for me, it depends massively on who he plays, how fit Harry Maguire is. Because if you're not playing Harry Maguire, for me, he's got to play the three centre backs, and then that means that Kyle Walker is probably playing as one of the back three in the centre half. So then you're playing a wing back. So then for me, it's the other three: Reece James, Alexander-Arnold, Kieran Trippier. The thing is with Kieran Trippier, I know he gets a lot of stick. The problem with Kieran Trippier is that I say the problem that what Gareth Southgate will be looking at with Kieran Trippier is that he has just gone and won La Liga with under one of the most defensive coaches in Europe. So that's what he's looking at. They've got a very, very good defensive record, Atletico Madrid. And Kieran Trippier is really loved over there. I saw a really interesting article from Sam Leveridge, who does the La Liga Lowdown podcast. And he did He did one of the interviews for the Atletico Madrid documentary that we put out on the redmentv.com. I did the interview for that. And so he's a Spanish football expert. Ollie Watkins is the other one not going. Yes, correct. So so in terms of, and he published an article this morning talking about how Kieran Trippier should be the first choice right back, because he's going and in theory he's just won a league title. He's playing under Diego Simeone. Atletico Madrid fans really, really love him. And I think that's something that I don't watch a lot of La Liga. I don't watch a lot of Spanish football. I thought he was okay against Chelsea in the Champions League. That's pretty much all I've seen of Atletico Madrid this season. But that is sort of the logic, I think, behind the Kieran Trippier involvement and behind the argument that he should be starting for England. I don't think it's out of the question that he does. So let's go through some of the comments. I'm getting loads of mixed. Kyle Walker maybe back three. That's what I was just saying. I think that is it. I think that's the one. I think that's what he might do. But again, it depends on the fitness of Harry Maguire, and it depends. I think we'll see a lot over the. I think we'll see a lot over the next two games over whether or not Harry Maguire's fit. If he plays against Austria, if he can get any minutes against Austria and against Romania, that means that you're going to get you are going to end up seeing a little bit into the system of what he's going to do, what system he's going to play. But if he starts to play a back five in the two games against Austria and Romania, that's going to give you a bit more of a clue as to what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks at the Euros, and again a little bit of a privy into how fit Harry Maguire is. I'm just going to do a couple of things here. Right. So let's have a go through the reviews. England not going enough for the win. Trent defo playing midfield. So that's the other thing. Trent Alexander-Arnold, where does he play? So he's not taking James Ward-Prowse. So in terms of what happens next, is he playing Trent in midfield? I don't think so. And maybe it depends again on the fitness of Jordan Henderson, because I think Declan Rice is going to start. So then you've got Mason Mount, and what you do with the other midfielder, who's going to be in there. Jordan Henderson isn't fit. Does he have a look at maybe? Does he have a look at playing Trent in there? I don't think it's the right place to do it in an international tournament. He's not played in midfield at senior level ever. He's never done it for Liverpool ever. So why now should we take him to an international tournament that England have a good squad for, and they have a relatively good chance of winning? I don't think they're the favourites, but they've got a stronger squad than they have done previously. Why would we risk that? It just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe if you end up going into a scenario where you're through for the game against the Czech Republic on the 22nd, you've beaten Croatia, you've beaten Scotland, and it's a bit like the Belgian game in 2018. It's pretty much a free hit, or you need to win it to win the group. It's not quite as important. You're already through. Do you play Trent there then, see what he's like? Maybe. But again, it's just not something that I would be doing. So how can anyone say, Steve Barker, how many? I will be taking comments, by the way, from Redmen members. So if you get yourself a YouTube member or if you send them a super chat, I'll read out some of the comments. The squad is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yes, just to go over again, for anybody who's joining us, the squad is. Obviously I can't throw up the. We normally get in the studio, we can throw up a screen share, but I can't do that. So the squad, for anybody just joining us: Dean Henderson, Sam Johnston, Jordan Pickford, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ben Chilwell, Connor Cody, Reece James, Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier, Kyle Walker. 4 right backs for England. Jude Bellingham, Jordan Henderson, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, Jadon Sancho, Raheem Sterling. What I will say now. Yes, thank you, mate, for the comments about the squad. Just got through them. So what I'll do now, I'll interesting. I'll read through the what I think should start against Croatia, and then we can have a conversation from there if you want to get your comments in. So for me, this is the team that I would currently go for against Croatia would be I'd go with Jordan Pickford. I don't think Dean Henderson's done his reputation a whole great deal of favours over the last few weeks. I think particularly against Liverpool, he has that moment, doesn't he, where Salah's parked himself. He stands in the car park for the for Salah's goal. But I'd go Jordan Pickford. I would go with Reece James. I would go with John Stones and Harry Maguire if Harry Maguire's fit, and I would go with Luke Shaw at left back. I'd go with a midfield three of Declan Rice, Jordan Henderson, and Mason Mount, and I'd go with a front three of Phil Foden, Harry Kane, and Jadon Sancho. That would be my team to start with. Start against Croatia on Sunday, the 13th of June, so a week on Sunday. Now, if Harry Maguire isn't fit, what I would do then is I'd play a back five, and I would play. I'd still stick with Jordan Pickford. I'd then go with Trent Alexander-Arnold because I think then if you're playing your right backs as your wing backs, I think that changes things. I know Reece James does that for Chelsea, but I do think that England are going to be in a situation, I think, against Croatia where you can't guarantee that they're going to have a lot of the ball. So I think that you've got to put yourselves in a position where when you do have the ball, if you're going to play through at the back, you need to be able to break quickly. And I think Trent Alexander-Arnold and the balls that he can play, I think that gives us the best opportunity to do that. So I'd go Trent Alexander-Arnold at wing back. This is if Harry Maguire isn't fit. I'd go with Kyle Walker, John Stones, and that's where it falls short because if Harry Maguire isn't fit, then you're choosing between Connor Cody and Tyrone Mings. I'd probably go Connor Cody, but I don't particularly rate either of them. I'd then stick with Luke Shaw at fullback. Then the midfield two of Jordan Henderson and Declan Rice. Now Jordan Henderson isn't fit. I think Mason Mount walks into the team, and then you've got a midfield. Then you've got a front three of the same front three: Foden, Kane, and Sancho. Because I think Jadon Sancho. I think it's a good decision to have taken him. I think Jude Bellingham's another interesting one. I don't think he's going to play much in this tournament, but I think he is going to play in 2022 with the World Cup. And I think what he's doing here is very much a Theo Walcott-esque Sven-Goran Eriksson pick, where he's just taking him for the experience, getting him out there, getting him among the squad, and eventually, we'll get some in. We have had a super chat. Thank you very much. Let's get them in. Gutted Big Nat Phillips didn't make the squad. You know what? I was wondering because he did have such a good end to the season. I did wonder if Harry Maguire wasn't fit, what was he going to do? But obviously, then the provisional squad was announced a few days ago anyway. So I think he obviously wasn't in that, and that was kind of the end of that. But yeah, for Nat Phillips, it would have been a shame. It would have been good. I think it would have been. I don't think he's good enough for England, to be honest. I don't think he's good enough for England, but he's had such a good season. And at the moment, with the lacking, that's England's weakness in this tournament. Going into this tournament, it is how good are the defensive options at the middle, at the back. Because as soon as you lose Harry Maguire, I'm still not convinced on John Stones. As soon as you lose Harry Maguire, England look a bit weak at the back, and I think that's where they'll fall down. I think that's where the tournament will be won and lost for us in terms of the latter stage of the competitions. I expect England can get out the group. Luke Shaw can play left centre back. Not a bad idea. Yeah, not a bad idea. Don't know how much experience he has there. Man United don't tend to do that, do they? But yeah, I fully expect England to get out of the group. But I think later on, when you get towards the latter stage of the tournament and you're playing your France, your Belgiums, your Portugals, your Spains, I think our central defence then becomes a liability. And that's why I don't think England are going to win the tournament. If we win the group, we play the runner-up from that group of death. I think it's Group F. It contains France, Portugal, Germany, and Hungary. So that'll be interesting if we win the group. Let's go through some more comments. Somebody asking, what did you make of the Canate performance yesterday? I didn't watch it, to be honest. I knew he was playing and I knew they went out, France, but I didn't watch it. But it's good for us because it means, obviously, he'll have time now. He'll basically have the summer off, Canate, to come back, obviously, get himself settled in Liverpool and get himself ready for the new season. Each to their own. I really don't like the England football team, so I'm done. Fair enough, Steve Barker. Look, I have a very love-hate relationship with England, but I'm looking forward to this tournament for two reasons. First of all, I think England have a more likeable squad than previously, which I think is a big deal because I think, particularly if you think of like the Euro 2016, plenty of players in there I just didn't like in terms of like Ashley Young, Joe Hart, Jack Wilshere, like just not players, and then they bombed it to Iceland in the round of 16. But I think for England now, there's a lot of players I like in this squad. I like Mason Mount. I like Jadon Sancho. Obviously, I like Reece James. I like a lot of these players, and I'll be sort of lynched for that in a Liverpool setting. But the emotion and what that meant to the Chelsea players winning the Champions League at the weekend, I was happy for them. I like Phil Foden. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's possibly one of the best talented young players in Europe. So, this is now for me a more likable England squad. I like the manager. A lot of people say in the comments that they don't like the manager. I think tactically, I don't think he's one of the best managers in the world, but I like him. I've interviewed him recently for the Jordan Henderson doc, and he's a really nice guy. I think he's got a good footballing brain, and I think he's making the decisions that I genuinely think he's making the decisions that he thinks is best for the squad. And I think that he has recognised since Trent Alexander-Arnold's form, since being left out of the last squad, that taking Trent Alexander-Arnold to the tournament is very much in England's interest. And I think that's why he's done it. So I think it's harsh, some of the criticism that the England squad gets, but it's just one of them. That's why I like talking. The second reason is I'm really excited to just watch them football and not care about the football as much. Like, I want England to do well. If they go out, I won't be so upset. But I'm looking forward to watching football. It's been a really strenuous season for Liverpool fans. It's been a really long few years for Liverpool fans. You've got to remember that obviously before this season there was the super long season because of lockdown. And before the 2 seasons before that, we made Champions League finals. And when you make a Champions League final, you extend your season by 2-3 weeks. So for the last 3 years, we have had extended seasons. And I'm exhausted of club football. I'm ready for a break, and I'm looking forward to getting into the international tournament. Not care about it as much, and just be able to sit and enjoy the football, and hopefully having England do well, and hopefully they do, and I can enjoy that from that perspective. But even if they don't, I can sit there and I can think, at least I'm going to be able to watch some really good games. That group that I mentioned before, you've got France versus Portugal, you've got France versus Germany, you've got Portugal versus Germany. They're all playing each other in that group. So they're going to be some really good games, regardless of whether you care about England or not. So yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just really looking forward to the games in general, the tournament in general, and just not having to think about Liverpool for a bit because there's only 2 Liverpool players in the England squad. Obviously, the fitness of Jordan Henderson is touch and go a little bit right now. I think we'll know a little bit more when Gareth Southgate does his press conference and across the next 2 friendlies that England have got to play. But in terms of injuries, we don't have to worry too much in the England squad about the injury records of Liverpool players. Previously, I think Euro 2016, he took Oxlade-Chamberlain, he took Adam Lallana. There were loads of Liverpool players in the squad, and you sat there like that, going, God, all the injuries. Joe Gomez, who obviously misses out this time, he'd be in the squad if he was fit. But yeah, I think this time I can just watch it. John Barton, I'm surprised at Fraudgate taking Rashford as he's injured. Yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and call him Fraudgate, but I thought it was interesting that Mason Greenwood dropped out due to injury, but Marcus Rashford hasn't. And I think the answer to that is that Rashford's just more important to England. His form hasn't been great this season. I recognise that, but he does have the opportunity to stick away a few half chances. He's had some good games this season, so I think he's very much taking him as another option. Whereas I don't think this time around, I don't think that taking Mason Greenwood is as key. Where the fuck is Paul? He's not here. I live in Wigan. He's a long way away. What happened to John Stones? Nothing in particular happened to John Stones. I just don't particularly rate him as a footballer. I think he's been better this season. He's been showing performances for Manchester City that you'd expect of a £50 million centre-back. But Do I think that he's should be starting for England at an international tournament and leading the back line if Harry Maguire isn't fit? Absolutely not. I don't think he's good enough to do that. I think Harry Maguire, for all his faults, is the biggest leader in that England side at the back. I think obviously you've got Jordan Henderson in the midfield, but I think at the back he's the one that's going to lead that line. And if he's not there, England are going to struggle. England are going to struggle. 8 attackers. Southgate not sure about what plan B is. He's only really played Kane, Rashford and Sterling. He's going to be winging it if there's any injuries or he needs to change a game, potentially. But for me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's the plan B. He's the target man. He's the big, hold the ball up, try and change the game. He's our Olivier Giroud. And he's really, really good in the air from set pieces and stuff like that. And that's another reason for me that you've got to get Trent Alexander-Arnold in the squad because, if you want him on corners, you want him on free kicks, that's what you want. And you want somebody, if you're struggling for a goal in a game, he's like Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a player who you can bring on and you can get him you can get the ball into the box and he might get yourself, a couple of goals across the tournament, just the way it is. So I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is very much the plan B. What would your starting lineup be for England? So I did go through that before, but in case anybody's just joined, so I think if everybody's fit, I would go for this. I would go with Jordan Pickford. This is for the first game against Croatia. I'd go with Jordan Pickford, Reece James, John Stones, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. I'd then go for a midfield three of Declan Rice, Jordan Henderson, and Mason Mount, and a front three of Phil Foden, Harry Kane, and Jadon Sancho. Just my opinion. Pickford should be left at home. He's the best of a bad bunch, Jordan Pickford. And he did have a good tournament for England. He seems to like England, doesn't he? No way Pickford. Who's better than Jordan Pickford? Dean Henderson's not. Dean Henderson's not better than Jordan Pickford. If Nick Pope was in the squad, then that would be a different story. Nick Pope's not in the squad. So it's Jordan Pickford, it's Sam Johnston, or it's Dean Henderson, and I think Jordan Pickford's the best of a bad punch. Kyle, I can see what you're saying. Pope for me. Pope's not in the squad. Pope's not in the squad. Why James for Trent over you? I just think I think overall he's had a better season. I think I know that Trent's been really good over the last few weeks. But I think the way that I saw Reece James play in a Champions League final on Saturday, I think he was brilliant. And I think that at the moment he provides you a pretty good attacking output. But also I do think he's a better defender than Trent. Now, I'm not going with the narrative that Trent can't defend because I know that's wrong. I watch Liverpool week in, week out. But I do think that Reece James is a better defender, and that's the way it is. And I think particularly against Croatia, which is going to be our toughest fixture, I think you're going to need that. You know what I mean? I think that's something that's going to be quite important when it comes to the Scotland games and the Czech Republic games. There's a different conversation to be had, I think. But in terms of defensiveness against Croatia, I don't think England are going to have that much of the ball. I think Reece James, you're going to be better off playing him for that particular game. And then we'll see what happens there. Imo Walker's regarded as a right centre-back, not a right back, potentially, but he's not been doing that. That's the thing. So, he's tended to be playing a back four rather than a back five. Now, again, we've got 2 friendlies coming up tonight and at the weekend. So I think that, we're going to see a lot more about what the system's going to be. If he suddenly magically switches back to a back five for Austria tomorrow, you'll see a little bit more, I think. That'll be a bit more of an insight into whether or not he's going to play Kyle Walker as a right centre-back. But I think right now we've been seeing him play a back four, and I think that's possibly the most interesting thing. Bissaka has been definitely hard done by. I think Wan-Bissaka is a really, really good defender. The problem for Aaron Wan-Bissaka is that England have possibly the best selection of right backs in Europe, in the world, in terms of the national side. You've got the 4 that have gone, so that's Walker, Trent, Reece James, and Kieran Trippier. Then you've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka. You've even got James Justin at Leicester, who's currently injured, and he was never going to go because he's injured, but he's another one there. And he can play either side, James Justin. So, he's another one to look out for, maybe for 2022. And I think that's just the problem for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It's nothing against him. I think he's a really good player. But I think there's 4 right backs better than him overall, doing what England need them to do, which is go forward and provide attacking output as well, which I think is what Wan-Bissaka is a little bit weaker as. Bissaka is in the top 10 right backs in the league. I think he is, unfortunately. I think he's very, very good. He's taken 10 defenders. It's 100% going to be a back 5, says Jim83. Potentially, I'm just going to have another look at the squad. Yeah, it's a good point. I think, though, I think there's question marks over Harry Maguire's fitness. I think that's the main thing. Again, we'll learn more about that over the next few days, I think. And then obviously the word is, if you've not seen today, is that Trent's going to be used as a midfielder because he's not taken Ward-Prowse. So for me, Trent Alexander-Arnold, does he get play in midfield? For me, probably not. But it's a good point. If you take 10 defenders, that indicates, if it's two for every position, as it tends to be in an international squad, it indicates that that it might be a back five. So in which case, then, my first choice back five would be Trent, Reece. Somebody said before Reece James at right centre back, which is a great call. So I'd have Trent, Reece James, John Stones, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. That's what I'd do. If it was going to have to be a back five, but I'm still not convinced that that's what he's going to do. Any more comments? We'll think about wrapping up soon. He's bound to pressure over Trent Alexander-Arnold. Four right backs is abysmal. Also, no Ward-Prowse and Lingard. Been two of those in-form players since January. Lingard's an interesting one because I think Lingard brings you a couple of things. I think he is a little bit different. I think he does play on the front foot a lot, and he has been good for West Ham. And I even think that his personality that he brings. Now, I know that people don't tend to like Jesse Lingard as a person, but I think they all do in the England squad. And I just thought that if somebody else in the dressing room, that Jesse Lingard would be like a good person to have around. But I think if he's going to take 10 defenders, which he has done, he needs to be really picky with the midfield options. So I don't think that he could afford to take Jesse Lingard instead of somebody like, I don't know, Calvin Phillips, because if you think about it, Jordan Henderson, Declan Rice can play the 8, but Jordan Henderson potentially isn't fit. So if you ever pick up a problem with Declan Rice, suddenly Calvin Phillips is the guy to come in. Obviously he can play that more defensive role a bit better than, well, he definitely can play that defensive role a lot better than Jesse Lingard can. I think that was the point. England could potentially field an all-white starting 11. Didn't think I'd ever see it again. And they could. I mean, they could potentially field an all-white starting 11, but I don't think they will. Because I think they're going to play. I think they're going to play one of Trent Alexander-Arnold or Reece James, and I think they're going to play Jadon Sancho. So there you go. Henderson, Arnold, Maguire, Stone, Shaw, Sorry, that was just somebody reading out the squad. England could potentially field. I've read that one. Could have put in Ollie Watkins over one of the four right backs. Yeah, good point. Ollie Watkins had a really good season for Aston Villa. I think it's harsh for him to miss out. The four right backs thing, just like now it's had time to sink in. It really is interesting, isn't it? He couldn't face dropping one. Could he? You know what I mean? So he's sacrificed a forward player. Now he's taking a lot of forwards as well. But it's really interesting. It's so who plays and where, and how many games? There are loads of games. So anyway. I hope Liverpool buy Sancho if he plays good Euros. Yes, I agree. I've seen all three keepers at Preston. They were all bang average. I know. Goalkeeping's a problem position for England at the moment. I do think that going forward, either Nick Pope or Dean Henderson will be the main ones, but I don't necessarily think that that's the case right now. What about Bellingham? He's doing good shifts. Yeah, I briefly talked about Bellingham before. I think that Jude Bellingham will play in the squad potentially in Euro 20 in the World Cup in 2022. I think the reason he's taking him now, I don't think he's going to get many minutes here. I might be proven wrong. But the reason he's taking him now is to get him that experience among the squad, get him that experience going to a tournament, getting him blooded in with the team, very much like Theo Walcott was taken all those years ago, quite controversially, by Sven-Göran Eriksson to the World Cup in 2006, because these managers know that taking those young players and giving them this experience now when they're going to play for England in the future is really, really good experience for them. Rashford should change it up to a social worker, lads. Leave Rashford alone. I think Ivan Toney will be better than Watkins this season. I've watched a bit of Brentford. I mean, I'm looking forward to them coming up. Ivan Toney, good player, scored a lot of goals for Brentford this season. Correct if I'm wrong, I don't think any were scored from outside the box, which is a really good. I like that. I like little statistics like that. Will Jude be the next Ox, took but not played? Yeah, I think that's it for now. But I do think that Jude Bellingham has a real sort of role to play in England squads going forward. Jack Grealish is the other one I've not mentioned as well. Liano, I can't show you the team. I've not shown. I've not put. I'll try and put it in the comments if you want. I'll try and do that. Hold on. Can people? Yeah, here we go. Look, I'll put a link in the comments now. This is the squad for anybody not missing it, and I'll pin that as well. Pin message. There's the England squad at the top of the chat. What was I talking about? I was talking about Jack Grealish. He's another one. He's a really good option. I think there's going to be a few. No, well, he's half fit. He's in the squad. So I think right now, until we know more from the friendlies and from Gareth Southgate's press conference, we've got to take the squad at face value. If they're in the squad, I'm going to use my players until I'm told otherwise. So for now, in my starting 11 for England, there would be Harry Maguire and there would be Jordan Henderson. Right now, we don't know how fit those players are. So in terms of going forward, in terms of how fit those players are and whether they get into a squad, until I'm told that they cannot play, and Jack Grealish is another one. So for me, Jack Grealish doesn't necessarily belong in England's best 11. I think Phil Foden's better. But again, there's plenty of games. We think about the Czech Republic game in particular. A lot of those players that are maybe on the fringe of the squad, hopefully if England do their job correctly, they don't necessarily need to win that game. So I think much like Belgium and Russia in 2018, you're going to see a little bit more of a rotation in that game, in a game that England should be winning with a rotated squad. And also England should be able to experiment in a little bit. Just a little... Vardy instead of Sterling. Vardy has retired from international football. So thin in midfield. Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to play in midfield for me. Somebody said that, Ben, you've got really good at this. Thank you very much. I'm just sat here with a phone at the moment, and so that's why the audio isn't great. If anybody's struggling with audio, I'm just sat here at home. We're having a bit of a week off at the moment at Redmen. We're just having a little bit of a week to chill. Still working from home and stuff, but we're not going into the office as much. So I'm just sat at home with a drink, enjoying the thought of the Euros on the horizon. But yeah, so thin. Trent Alexander-Arnold's going into midfield for me. At least one of those right backs is either not going to play a minute or Trent is going to be in midfield. It's either or, guaranteed. Either he's not going to play, which I think then again you get a lot of backlash if he doesn't play, or he's going to be playing midfield. It's one of those two. Kieran Trippier might not play. That might be the other one. But I think there's only two right backs at this tournament for England guaranteed minutes, and that's Kyle Walker and Reece James. They are guaranteed minutes. The other two, it's kind of up in the air. Plus, why not take a punt on Tony for the Euros? Because he's only a championship level player, mate. There's better players playing in the Premier League right now. Maybe one for the future. I remember that Steve Bull made an impact. That he was in the top flight at the time. I just think there's better options. I mean, to be honest, I don't know who Steve Bull is. I don't know what era that was. But when you look at the team, when you actually look at the squad, I like Ivan Toney, but I like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think he's a different type of player as well. I think Marcus Rashford's better. Raheem Sterling hasn't had a great season, but I think he's better than Ivan Toney. So I think that would have been a big gamble from Gareth Southgate to not take. To take somebody like Ivan Toney, to be honest. Trent in midfield would be amazing for his growth. Sorry, I need to cough. Not a COVID-related cough. Trent in midfield would be amazing for his growth. I think he belongs in midfield. For Liverpool, he can deliver a ball like KDB, just needs to get experience. Yeah, and I said this before, but is an international tournament the right time to be doing that? Don't think so, but we'll see what Southgate does. Why no Pope? He's injured, that's why. It's a shame. Right, I'm going to switch off. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks, everybody who's contributed to the conversation. But yeah, Pope's injured. Thanks, everybody who's contributed to the conversation. I know the vast majority of our fan base don't care about England, but I will say this. There's no harm to wanting England to do well. There's absolutely there's nothing. I think it's good for the country. I think after a really difficult 12, 14 months for the country, it'd be great if England just went and won this. And I don't think they will. Because I think there's better squads here. I think France are going to be tough to beat again. And you've got Portugal there who've got a really, really good squad. But honestly, just enjoy it. Just enjoy the tournament. Get behind England. Watch a few of the games. Go to the pub with your mates. And forget about the last year and how horrible it's been. And just enjoy the football. This is what I was saying before in terms of it's been a really stressful season for Liverpool fans. And you've got an opportunity. If you're not asked about England, you've got an opportunity to go and just enjoy football that you don't care about as much, but you can still enjoy. And that's what I'm going to be doing this summer. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to put an England shirt on. I'm going to go to the pub with my mates. I'm just going to hope they do well. And if they don't, I'll go, all right, and I'll get ready for the next season with Liverpool, and that's the way I'll be. But there's no harm in just hoping that England will do well. I don't understand people personally who go out and actively want England to lose at these tournaments because there's no point. It doesn't benefit anybody. You might as well. It would be really good for everybody if England went and did well at this tournament. It would really boost things. And hopefully the pubs remain to be open. And hopefully the lockdown continues to be rolled out. And on June 21st, for the back end of the Euros, we'll be back almost to normal. And we can just go and enjoy those games as we would be normally able to do. So there you go. That's my piece. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Enjoy the tournament. Leave us your comments, your thoughts about the England squad down below. How many minutes will Trent Alexander-Arnold get, and where will he be playing them? Will he be playing at right back, or will he be given a spin in midfield? Let us know. Subscribe to the channel. Head over to the redmentv.com. We've got a fantastic documentary on the way about Jordan Henderson. Gareth Southgate is involved with it. Steven Gerrard, Kenny Dalglish, Trent Alexander-Arnold also involved with it. Head over now. It's £5 a month to sign up. Go and do it. It's amazing. I've seen it. It's brilliant. Thanks very much. See you later.